Hey everyone, this is Anne with Graphic Design How To, and today we're going to talk about how to get a graphic design job in 2018. So there are a few things you should know if you're looking for a job as a graphic designer, and this is really geared more towards college graduates or someone who got laid off of a job or maybe just quit because you were tired of your current job. So we'll go over your resume, actually applying for jobs, your portfolio, and then getting an interview. So first, let's start off with your resume. Okay, so the design of your resume, you should really keep it simple. You don't want to have a lot of graphics on the page. I've seen so many graphic design resumes that are just kind of a little overwhelming because of all the graphics. I would keep them to a pretty bare minimum, honestly. Stay away from graphs that show skill sets like, oh, I'm 90% proficient in this, or I'm 70% proficient in this program. I would stay away from that because they actually tend to work against you. As someone who sat in the hiring seat before, when I see this, I'm not only seeing your best skill, but I'm also seeing your worst. And even if it's above average, I usually think, okay, well, they're actually not very good at that. So I wouldn't really use a graph at all. I would just list those programs and skills that you think that are very relevant to the job. And then if you're not comfortable with something, just leave it off completely. As far as what jobs to put on your resume, I would steer clear of non-design jobs, unless you are just out of college or something and you really don't have a lot of graphic design experience yet. You should have some design experience on there regardless. And if you don't, go ahead and get out there and get some experience. So you need to have either freelance on there, volunteer jobs, even stuff you've done for your family counts as freelance. So get those jobs on there and leave off, a retail job if you can. Okay, next. Your resume and cover letter should absolutely be tailored to every job you apply for. Get the keywords in there. That is what will flag it as being a good cover letter or resume for an HR person to actually look at. So a lot of the stuff these days is just computer-based, and if they don't see certain keywords in your cover letter and in your resume, they will just automatically toss it. Also, I want to mention, if you're using Illustrator or some other vector-based program, do not outline your fonts because then those computers cannot read those fonts. Save it as a PDF. A PDF can keep the fonts and it still looks great, but the computers can still read it. Okay, so next let's talk about your portfolio. Your portfolio should have 8 to 12 great pieces of work in it. And by pieces, I mean like campaigns almost. So if you made a logo, you need to have that logo in many different applications. Maybe you can make a website with that logo. Maybe you can make letterhead, business card, and all of these different designed projects as part of one project. So 8 to 12 of those. So this is a big undertaking. I'm sure you already know it is really hard to create a portfolio, but you should already have one at least started if you're coming right out of school. And you should have work to show off in that portfolio if you're coming from a different job. You should be tailoring your portfolio to the job also. I usually have about 15 projects, and then based on the job itself, I'll take a few projects out and put in my strongest ones that are tailored to that job. I don't actually usually create a specific project for a job, but I will make the effort to make it somewhat tailored around the position. Try to get rid of student work in your portfolio. And the reason for that is student work is very different from client work. Usually you have a lot more time to get those student pieces done, and the interviewer is going to know that. So once they see student work, they think either A, you don't really have good real-world experience, and maybe they think you don't have anything that you're proud of from your work so far. So I would try to get rid of student projects unless, of course, you're right out of school and they're going to know that. In your portfolio, I would absolutely put only your best work. Don't fill your portfolio with a bunch of stuff that is just okay. Definitely have your best work in there. And if you decide that your best client work was not the one the client chose, put the one that you think is the strongest. Because we all have clients who, they want things a certain way, and you might notice that the design sometimes is not the greatest after the client's changes. So go ahead and put the one in there that you like the best and you know is the strongest art, even though that's not the one that got chosen. And you can always explain that in an interview. Okay, so let's talk about the application process. So if you don't have a job currently, you should be spending 8 hours a day trying to find a graphic design job. This should be your job, is searching for a job. If you do have another job, try to apply to at least 4 jobs a day. And I know that is really, really hard because if you do it right, it's going to take quite a bit of time to actually tailor your resume, portfolio, and cover letter all to one job. So that is probably going to take 30 to 45 minutes at least. So that might be a little bit of a tall order, but at least please apply to one job every single day. Sign up for daily emails from LinkedIn, Glassdoor, Indeed, or any other job sites, and you can get them to send you only graphic design jobs or only jobs with certain keywords in them. And that's a really good way to kind of keep on top of the newest jobs that are out right now. Anytime a new one shows up, you can apply right away. That is a big deal when you're looking to be one of the first ones to apply because sometimes they just take the first ones and then they close it right after that. When you're filling out online job applications, it can get kind of tedious to write everything that they're asking for, but I really recommend you do this because it is not the greatest thing. It looks pretty lazy if you just put "see resume" in every single blank. It's okay to copy and paste from your resume into those blanks though. Make sure to get as many keywords as you can in there if the situation applies. And then finally, try not to get hung up on one specific job that you really want. Don't get your heart set on one because in my experience, when I was going through the applying phase, I probably got a callback or an interview on 1 in 10 jobs. And I think it was actually even less than that. It's probably more like 1 in 15 or something like that. Try to keep a thick skin. Don't get your feelings hurt if the one that you really want doesn't call you back. It happens. One last thing about applying. Feel free to apply to jobs that you think might be a little over your skill level. A lot of times companies will call graphic designers by several different things and you might think, oh, well, I can't do that because I don't have that skill set or whatever. But it might turn out that that job is something you could very easily do. So for example, I'm a creative services manager right now. That's my job title, but actually, I'm a graphic designer. That's what I do. So I don't actually manage people or anything like that. So I want to give you some job titles that I think you could apply to. Now, I realize some of these have very different meanings, but I want to keep your options open. I want you to keep looking at several different things that might just mean graphic designer. So here is a list for you, and I also put this in the description of this video so you can check it there. Production designer, art director, web developer, creative designer, marketing designer, packaging designer, prepress technician, layout designer, photo editor, and the list does go on. I'm not going to tell you all of them, but multimedia designer, assistant art director. Those are all things that could mean just graphic designer. Don't limit yourself. Okay, so let's switch over to the interview. When you get an interview with a graphic design company, there are a few things you should know. You should always absolutely be very well prepared. So show up to the interview in very nice clothes. I usually bring 5 resumes printed out because you never know how many people are going to be in your interview. I bring my print portfolio. I also bring a laptop in case someone wants to see some of my web work. If you don't have a print portfolio, that's okay, but you need to be able to show people your portfolio without having to go to a lot of trouble, having to have them go find a laptop somewhere in their company so you can show them your online portfolio. You don't want to assume they have a projector or something in the room. So bring a laptop, bring an iPad, bring a print portfolio, but do not come to a graphic design interview without a portfolio. I also bring a professional looking binder with a notepad in it and some questions I've prepared beforehand because the very last thing they'll say probably is, do you have any questions for us? And it's always a good idea to have something prepared. Make sure you do research on the company. You need to know exactly who it is you're going to be working for if you get the job, and they'll be impressed by your knowledge of the company. And then finally, try to be yourself. When I was hiring, I thought 2 things. 1, can this person do the job? And 2, is this person going to fit in well with the company and get along well with everyone else? So if you can amp up your charm and show them that you're really easy to work with and you're a fun person to get along with, inject some personality into the interview, you have won half the battle right there. And then you just have to let them know you can do the job. So these are my best tips on how to get a job in 2018 as a graphic designer. And if you have any tips yourself, please leave them in the comments section below so that everyone else can see too. Thanks everyone, and I'll see you next week.